order the August the 2nd, 2022 meeting of the Anson County Board of Commissioners. And at this time, we will have a moment of silence. And we have more than one this time. We got a moment of silence to honor the memory of Mr. William Lafayette Booger Sturdivant, who's the son of Commissioner Vancine Sturdivant. Ms. Wakita Medley Tanner, who's a sister or cousin of our clerk, Ms. Cannon. And then we have a retired DSS employee, Ms. Shirley Allen, which I think a lot of people knew her around the county. She passed away. So at this point, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
I didn't know Ms. Turner.
Okay, at this time, we will approve the agenda. And we do have, I think we all have it in front of us, there is an item added under the consent agenda, the FY23 Home and Community Care Block Grant Funding Plan. And that's through the Race Center area, Council on Aging. Does anyone, any commissioner have anything to add? I will add item 8A, and it's in regards to the Grace Center. I had a citizen come to me with a concern about the Grace Center.
8A, what are you talking about?
Commissioner concerns,
Okay.
petitions, announcement. Does anybody else have anything to add there? Okay, if there are no other addition or changes at this time, we will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the noted additions.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Smith, to approve the agenda with the additions. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. It is unanimous. The agenda is approved with the additions. Okay, the next item is the consent. Wait, hold on a minute. Let me back up. In accordance with the State Government's Ethics Act, General Statute 138A, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation in the particular matter involved. Does any commissioner have a conflict with anything coming before us tonight? Okay, hearing none, we're good to go. Item 2, the consent agenda. The minutes of our last meeting, property tax refunds and adjustments, that page is in front of us. Juvenile justice lease, and that's at the Lockhart Civil Center. The North Carolina Forest Service annual contract, the budget amendment for domestic violence, budget amendment for the elderly, budget amendment for grant donation funding, budget amendment for the sheriff and SBCC, and that's the money that we approved for the equipment. And the added item, the home and community care block grant for FY23. Okay, what's the board's pleasure for the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the noted addition.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Dr. Sims, to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, it is approved. The consent agenda is approved unanimously. Okay, public addresses to the board. Ms. Lott, you're actually on the agenda for an appearance.
Yes, sir, I am.
Do you want to just wait for the appearances?
I can, if that's all right.
Okay, and you have your Mr. Tim with you too?
I do, my husband.
Okay, we'll hear from you on the appearances.
Thank you.
Okay, Bobby Johnson. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
Commissioners, Attorney Fort. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention to you. That's been a concern for quite a while, but I think it's becoming more of a concern. First is the concerning the landfill at Fulton. As most of you know, the landfill is supposed to be capped with clay soil. There's no clay soil in the Triassic Basin in Anderson County, not enough to do that anyway. So the entire landfill is built with sand and sandy loam and loam soils. Loam floats in water, so when it rains it just floats away. Sand, of course, just drifts away into little gullies and it just pours down when it gets wet. And also, it caves in at the top. And in the last 2 years, there's been 2 cave-ins over there where the top caved in. And the rainwater ran down into the center of the stuff that's composted in there and actually expanded and blew the rest of the sand off the sides of the landfill on the north side and the east side. They almost have that repaired now, not quite. I can see it from my back door that they're working there. I can see the trucks working up there. But the problem is, according to the North Carolina DEQ, is that every time it rains, that sand's going to move down the sides. That side slope is 3 to 4 pitch. You go in 4 feet, it moves up 3. So it's about this angle, like this. When the water runs down, have a heavy rain, the water runs down, the entire sides of it moves down. It will eventually go down and make a triangle shape at the bottom, at the ground. And that will overflow the berm and go outside their permitted area. Part of it's already done that. It did that a year ago. Actual trash, garbage bags, tons and tons and tons of garbage bags washed across their access road less than 2 years ago. One other thing about the landfill. There's been apparently some miscommunication between the county and the gas plant company that wants to put a methane plant there. They have spoken with you about it. Apparently they have not been told that the county owns 1/8 royalty of all the gas that's pumped out of that landfill. The company that's putting that processing plant there, apparently is not aware of that. According to Nathan Plaget, who is their front man, they know nothing about that. So, we're talking about millions of dollars that belongs to the county, but the gas company thinks that they're going to get it all. They don't know anything about this, and this is in the agreement, in the initial agreement with Chambers. If you go back and read that, it's about halfway down, second page, about near the bottom. The county owns 1/8 of that gas. Any gas they pump out of there, we own 1/8 of it. So, we have a problem. Somebody is going to have to make amends for that. That gas company is not going to give that up freely. I don't know what the contract, if you have a contract with them, I have no idea what it says, but anyway, I wanted to bring that to your attention. I have talked with Nathan Plaget 4 different times, at least 2 hours each time, sometimes 3 or 4. At this point, they are not going to get a pipeline laid from that landfill to the main pipeline coming through Anderson County. It's not going to be done. They cannot get permission to do a survey across private property to do that.
Excuse me, Mr. Johnson, I'm gonna give you about 30 more seconds, because you only get 3 minutes during the, public comments,
Yes.
and I failed to say that. And you're
Thank
gonna have about 5 at that time, so.
Thank you, sir. So, I would like for you to address this in one of your meetings sometime. You have two items. One is the royalty on the gas. The other is to fix that landfill so that sand will stop pouring off the sides and smelling so bad that I can't stand it at my house. I appreciate your time, and I thank you for your work and for your service. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. And during the public address to the board, we're not allowed to comment or do anything except forward it to the county manager. And Mr. Allen's on the line. He's not here tonight. And Mr. Allen, did you hear that? Well, I'll get with him, but we'll make sure that your concerns are given to him, and we'll have him contact you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Brenda Caliste.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very familiar with what he was talking about. If you'd like for me to contact him, I'll be more than happy to.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Thank you. I know Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Certainly.
Okay, Ms. Caliste?
Good evening, board members. And you got it right on the first try. Thank you. I've been back in the county now 8.5 years. And the time that I've been here, I have never missed paying my car tax. I recently turned 65 and I had a party and I invited the guests to come and I told them they had to RSVP by the 31st of May. My car tax was due on the 31st of May. So that's, I guess, where my head was. Forgot all about it. Never have I ever done this before. I found out Friday night that my car tag had on the back of it 522. And it should have 523. So I didn't sleep Friday night, I didn't sleep Saturday night, I didn't sleep good Sunday night. I was downstairs yesterday morning at 8:15 to take care of that. To my knowledge, I was told that, I didn't know this, I had to purchase a 15-day tag. Go get the car inspected, come back and pay the late fees. Now, why would I be double paying for something? I had personal tags. Why couldn't I just pay the late fee? It was only 3 or 4 months late. Why couldn't I just pay that and keep my tags? I just want to know, am I at the right place for this?
I know it's against the rules, but I've been going to, no ma'am, that is through the state of North Carolina. If you'll call DMV, they could probably answer that question for you.
Okay, so not here.
No ma'am.
Thank you
That's the
so
state.
much, and thank you for saying my name right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you,
I
Ms. Caliste.
recognize I just broke the rules, but out of judicial confidence.
You're the one in the know, sir. I'm not gonna hold that against you.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of our public addresses to the board. We're now ready for appearances. Mr. and Mrs. Lott.
He's here for moral support.
Okay.
Okay, so at the last meeting, by the way, thank you for having me. I appreciate your time and your effort and your service in Anson County. I'm Maggie Lott. I live in Burnsville Township. My husband Tim and I, we moved here a little over a year ago. And we moved to Burnsville and Polkton area specifically because it checked all the boxes. We moved a farm here, animals, kids, grown kids, in our entire lives. And we moved here a lot of the reason because of the zoning. We bought a farm, and the leniency in your zoning laws were going to allow us to build our lives here and set it up for our children to continue to live their lives here. So, as I alluded to last meeting, I understand you're going through new zoning ordinances and laws and such, and there are some that are concerning to us as entrepreneurs and self-employed people, typically throughout our lives. With all of that consideration and introducing the terms of cottage industry and home employment and the concerns I raised in the 3 minutes or more that I was here last time, and with the help of Commissioner Bricken, cottage industry has taken on a meaning here for Anson County. And he was good enough to do some digging and to find some legislation in zoning in a county called Trinity out in California. And it's all of 8 pages. That encompasses cottage industry. It regulates how it is founded. It regulates the size of it. It regulates the guidelines for what is considered a cottage or home occupation. I would like to, I believe you all have a copy of that, hard copy, thanks to Ms. Denise and all her hard work. And I believe Commissioner Bricken had sent it to you via email. There are some minor things that could be adapted to Anson County for this ordinance. I would like the board to consider a motion to take this under consideration, to give it to your steering committee and any commissioners that would be willing to give some input and consider this for inclusion in your upcoming zoning laws. I think it would benefit Anson County economically. I think it would benefit Anson County in a generational footprint. I think it would generate your tax base, and I think it would be beneficial there. So that would be my first order of business, is to see if we could get a motion to include this for discussion into the upcoming zoning ordinances. And I don't know if you want to do that now, and then we'll move on to the rest of it for expediency.
We are taking that into consideration, and it's been passed on. The county manager
Okay.
has it, as well as Mr. Newton.
Okay.
And we've got to go in and tweak it and see how, what
Sure.
we can work into the zoning ordinance for Anson County. So that's where we are. We're taking you're taking the request in consideration, and we'll.
That's a big win for Anson County. Thank you so very much, truly. I mean, this is going to allow people to dream, you know, and not feel so hopeless. You know, it's a world full of hopelessness, and so this is a big first step, and I thank you for that. Going past that, I'd like to address what I consider concerns, conflicts, and confusion of the first 93 pages of 146 pages in reference to the general provisions, use tables, and language of the zoning proposals. I read across here your intent and the purpose, and is to protect and promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the county and its residents. And it shall be to accomplish compatible development of land within Anson County in a manner which will best promote, again, health, safety, and general welfare of the public, and to provide efficiency and economy in the process of development. So it confuses me and actually concerns me in a great way when I reference pages 37, 38, 41, 42, and 54. And I see in the language specifically hazardous storage facilities, low-level radioactive waste, toxic substances, landfills over and under 10 acres, and low-level explosive storage. Can anybody here, since we can have a conversation this evening, since it's just not a public address, can any of you explain any of this in relation to the intent for public safety and health and welfare?
I do know, and I'm not going to try to go into detail, and I don't know if how to try to explain it now. I've got an idea, but now, Mr. Forbes, I don't know if you can address this or not, but I know what's in place for the landfill as far as low-level hazardous waste, and that's actually controlled by the state. And we have got some guidelines now, like coal ash, for example. The landfill cannot take coal ash. We put that in place a couple of years ago.
Is that radioactive?
I can't answer. I guess it depends on where it comes from, and I know most of it comes from these nuclear power plants that are using coal for fuel. So it's possibly good, but we're not allowing that in the landfill here.
Okay, so but the language is there. So is that a potential for allowing that into Anson County from other places?
if anything is allowed in that language, it has to be addressed before anything can be allowed. That right there, whenever they make a decision, if that is allowed and if that comes, the standard by which they can judge whether it is allowed to come in has to be governed by the language of the health and general welfare of the people. Those items, as some people think they are dangerous, there are provisions by which they are allowed.
There are provisions. Who determines those provisions, sir?
That, the state has language, I'm sorry.
So who in Anson County determines whether it can come into Anson County? I guess that's my
I
question.
believe you'd have to get a permit, it'd be through the permitting process.
So it'd be your boards, zoning board, special application board, things like that?
There are policies, if people follow those policies, yes. And I'm sorry you're hitting me with this cold. Are you talking about specifically explosives or radioactive waste?
I am.
stuff of that nature? Yes.
I am,
Those
because
things
it
are allowed.
seems contradictory to the intents and purposes of the new zoning.
But let's do this, it sounds like we're kind of not sure, so, Mr. Forbes and I guess Mr. Allen could be involved as well. Would you
Okay.
research that?
Be
And
glad
look
to.
at our zoning ordinance, the proposed zoning ordinance, because we have not adopted this yet.
I understand that,
then
and
get
that's why I'm
back with
speaking.
Ms. Lott, so we make sure that everybody's on the same page and what
Okay.
we're thinking.
Okay.
And if there need to be some changes here, then we'll know we need to make that.
Okay. Just because as I dug into it a little bit more from the EPA, okay, so I didn't just go for Manson County, I looked at a broader range of, low activity, quote unquote, low activity itself is a concept and not a definition. Also, that present regulation of low activity radioactive waste is inconsistent, according to the EPA. There is no limit, and this is their wording, on the amount of radioactive material that can be contained in a low-level radioactive waste facility. And there's 4 different classifications, they're abbreviations, of course, but they're all used interchangeably. Mixed waste, low activity mixed waste, low-level radioactive waste, so it gets confusing, even according to the EPA, on what is allowed and what is not allowed, or sort of kind of slips through the cracks. So that is, as a resident in an agricultural county, kind of concerning.
It has to be approved by the EPA, would have to be, also approved by DENR, Department of Natural Resources.
Okay?
Also, this board would have some input into it if it came to that point. There's a lot of different agencies that have to agree to stuff like that.
And do the residents get a say?
Pardon?
Do the residents get a say?
Residents always get a say, they can vote.
Okay.
There's a lot of ways. Depending on the circumstance, there could be a public hearing.
Okay.
Which you could appear
Okay.
and, give your opinions on, and that would be the extent of the, residents, I believe.
Okay, well, That's a voice.
Whenever there's a regulatory program that has to do with EPA approval, EPA always requires a public hearing as well, so, that's one thing to consider.
so notice would go out to, say there was a facility or something near, and so notices would go out to those residencies that are near to that, so that they knew?
Typically, they'll do door hangers, they'll
Okay.
also put advertisements in the paper.
Okay.
There's other venues by which they do an official notice in the paper and things of that nature are required as well.
Okay, well,
It depends on what the rules are for that specific venue.
Okay.
Or that specific issue.
okay, beautiful. Because to me, that's, need for a little bit of serious conversation and
Sure.
consideration that, okay. Previous gentleman, landfills. I thought this was a talking point for Anson County, was the fact that a landfill came in, that there was no zoning to stop it, regulate it, whatever. This is my understanding from the rumor mill, so you'll excuse me
That's not
please
true.
while I,
The landfill was voted on, public hearings were held.
okay,
They came in, it's extensively regulated, and the EPA and other government organizations are extremely involved in monitoring, and they have a lot of rules that they have to follow and things of that nature.
correct. But I see landfills over 10 acres and under 10 acres, so pretty much landfills anywhere, in any, denomination of acreage, are approved in RA1, RA2, and RA5. But not in the, not in high industrial or light industrial or heavy industrial, what's, I mean, RA1 is an acre. Why are we approving landfills in an RA1 or an RA2? What's going on with that? Why is there blanket approval for landfills in Anson County? I guess that's my
I don't know
question.
if there is blanket approval.
According to the language in your use tables,
We'll have to look at that, Mr. Forbes.
I would look at that, yeah,
I appreciate that.
I don't believe there's any blanket approval, there
If
may be
it's,
some
if it's got a
regulations.
designation underneath, okay, so the little boxes underneath the use tables, it has SB, SA, X, D, all of these different little abbreviations. That means there's approval under conditions.
Under conditions, okay.
Sure, but that's
Okay, I
approval.
thought you meant you could just come in. They would be still subject to a lot of other review, issues and, circumstances.
Okay, and the possibility for it to be denied. I'd like to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
that on record. Okay,
Yeah, it's not an automatic approval.
okay, beautiful. All right, low level explosive storage, I believe, what's the need? I mean, light industrial, heavy industrial, I understand that, but what's the need for it in an RA5? Why do we need explosive storage in an RA5? Can someone explain that to me?
Do we have an explosive storage in RA5?
You have the ability for it.
If
It's in the
appro-
use table.
If it's approved.
Correct,
If
again,
it's
if it's approved. So,
I doubt it'd be approved. That's a speculation on my part.
okay,
We'll make a note of that. That's another one we have to look at, because like I said, this ordinance as it's written now has not been adopted by this
Correct.
board. So we still have room for discussion and changes to be made.
understood. Which is why I'm bringing a lot of this to light, because we put professionals, as a society, we put professionals in place like the Ability Group to come in under our guidance and say, this is what we want for our county, this is what we want for our residents. And then we trust that what they're putting in place, because we don't all have the time to read 500 pages, is exactly what we've asked for. But then you find language in there that is a little concerning as a resident, as a business owner, or as a future business owner. So that's where I'm at. There's a lot of conflicts, like, all right, I'll take the RA5 for instance. RA5 is like the biggest it gets. It's like, so a minimum of 10 acres and above, I believe, in RA5, or 5 acres and above. Thank you. So why isn't there an RA10 or an RA20 or an RA50 for acreage when it comes to certain things that needs more space? Why are we down to, like, I don't want earth extraction next to my home. I've already lived that for a number of years. It was crazy destructive to my life, my animals, my family, our well-being, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. That's just the way it was. But now I'm living in an area, RA5, I've got 13 acres, I've got neighbors with acreage. They could sell to an earth extraction company with carte blanche, pretty much, no setbacks that I'm finding in the language, which concerns me. And they can come in and they can run 24/7, 7 days a week. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, with no restrictions.
I
That's
don't know where you live.
concerning, huh?
Where do you live, man?
I live in Burnsville,
Okay.
out off Racetrack Road. So that, I mean, that's more apt to be on a, 50 acres, something bigger where they can go to the center that have setbacks, be able, I just don't understand, where's the common sense in some of this? Did anybody read this in detail to really look at this and think, application-wise, is this smart in an RA5?
How long you lived in Anson County?
Little over a year, ma'am.
And what was your reason for moving to Anson County?
Because it had leniency in its zoning and because it produced a farm life and atmosphere that I felt my family would thrive in.
And you checked all of this out before you purchased the property?
Yes, ma'am, I
contained
sure
in
did.
Anson
I
County?
did, from Pennsylvania all the way down to Kentucky.
Okay, and you were satisfied?
I was.
With what you purchased and everything?
I am.
Okay.
Which is why I'm fighting so hard to protect it. For myself in Anson County. Now let me answer you this really quick. When I came to a meeting here, they had all the maps up. My husband and I came, we looked at the maps, we were looking at the zoning, the Ability Group was here. All right, so we were in, because we're in on the tail end of this. We didn't know this was all going on over the past couple of years, and we appreciate all the hard work. So I'm speaking to the Ability Group, to the gentleman, and one of them walks up to me, takes me aside, and he says, what language do you need in there to protect your interests? What do you need from us to protect your interest for your husband's body shop or for your antique shop. He goes, we'll speak to the manager, we'll get the language included, and he winked at me. He goes, and we'll make sure you're taken care of. That's not good for Anson County. That's good for my husband and I. That is not good for our residents. And that is not integrity.
Whenever we did every one of those zoning meetings, we went from area to area to
Yes,
area.
ma'am, you did.
We posted it in time for anyone that wanted to come,
Yes, ma'am, you
that they
did.
could come out and be a part of it and be in on it and tell what they wanted and vote, and we had meetings every area.
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Did you come to all of them?
I missed the last one. I was
Did
only
you
aware of the
ask
last one.
the other citizens where you live at to come? Did you go around? And I went around, and Lysville would have the biggest group every time. Did you go around in your area or somebody else and ask everybody to come out so you could voice your opinion?
I spoke to the people down at the corner store, and all of them,
No, that ain't what I asked you about. No
those are the
corner store.
residents of my community, ma'am, at that store.
Everybody that live in your community is at the store?
They pretty much go to that store. If you've ever been in Burnsville, if you don't go to the
I've
fast
been to
shop,
Burnsville.
okay, the fast shop
So-
is that. I spoke with the people in the fire department, I spoke with the people at the store, and we don't know a lot of people. We're new. We're new.
Me folk, you go around, you go to the churches, we send out letters. I went to the churches, went to everybody and asked them to please come, because the citizens is the one that
Absolutely.
dictate what we're gonna do. Okay, that zoning is over with.
No, ma'am, it's not.
No, what I'm saying is, the meetings and
Yeah, that's over, but we still.
we're
gotta-
still in it, but, you have to, I understand what you and your husband wanna do, and welcome to the county.
It's not just us.
But they need to be here too then.
It's not, I understand that. I understand that.
Thank you. Yeah. That's where you do that.
Okay.
People are too busy, honestly, people feel they're too busy surviving to be able to come to meetings like this and voice their opinions. They're trusting the people that they have voted in to govern in their best interest. That's why you're here. That's why I'm speaking. And yes, I've spoken to like Mr. Sykes at the fire department. And I said, your biggest advertisement, because all there was a little notice up in the store at Burnsville, right there, in the store window, that there was gonna be a meeting that night. And I spoke to Mr. Sykes and I said, your biggest advertisers are your churches.
Yeah.
They're your churches. You need people to be speaking at your churches to get the word out and explain to people what's going on in their areas. I completely agree with you with that.
Okay.
I'm one person.
But we did, Burnsville, from what the Ability Group told us, had a bigger turnout than all the other districts combined.
Correct.
We had a great turnout, we did put up signs, and so we did well in Burnsville.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was coming to that last meeting. I was waiting for Mr. Sykes to tell me what time it was. I heard from him at 8 o'clock that the meeting was at 6. I missed it. I know I am late in the game. I understand, but this is not a done deal. Wording can be changed.
Yes, ma'am. So, and that's why we're letting you speak tonight. I don't know how much longer you have.
I could go on, but I don't want to take up all your time. But there's more conflicts, considerations when you can allow a biodiesel fuel manufacturing plant, but you will not allow a beauty shop or a barber shop in an RA5. An RA5 with a minimum of 5 acres, in and of itself, when you allow industry, that's a bad term. When you allow people to work from home and have a cottage level industry in an RA5, that in and of itself has already given an insulation from neighbors and from disruption. It's already built in because you have more land to disperse that. So there's buffers between neighbors, there's buffers between industry, there's buffers between, and there's like 22 things in an RA5 that are allowed, just out of 147 spoken in the use tables, 88 of which need a special designation that goes in front of your boards.
Okay.
It's not, so there's a lot I could say.
Okay.
I don't think you've got enough time.
That's why I'm bringing this up. So what I would like for you to do, and Mr. Allen, you hear me?
I'll make sure he does.
Okay, what I would like for you to do is to get your list, which you got.
Yes,
apparently,
I've got a
and you
list.
can- And you got all your concerns, all
I
the
do.
things you want to see that needs to be different. Get with our county, interim county manager, Mr. Allen, Mr. Ray Allen.
Okay,
Sit down with him, and I would even suggest having Mr. Newton there, but I'll let Mr. Allen be the judge of that. And you go through that with him, then he can bring it back to the board, cause I'm pretty sure he'll condense it, and cause this is what we wanna do, is get the zoning ordinance in the best shape that we can initially. And, you know, like I've always told people about, you know, it's not set in stone. Once it's approved, we can always change it.
I understand.
But I understand your point too, we need to get it right to start with. And
Right.
That's our
It's harder to change once it's set. You get, you know, there's resistance there, so I'm just hoping that it's slowed down a little bit, just a little bit longer. I don't see where a couple of months is going to matter, if you get it right the first time, or as right as you possibly can. And like I said, this is for everybody in this county. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I could've let those men put that language in for my husband and I could've protected my interest. I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't, because it's not good just for us.
And I will say this, it's not saying this thing's gonna be over in a couple, we're gonna take whatever time it takes to get it right until we're satisfied with it. The
Thank
board's not
you.
gonna just shut it down and say, okay, this is it.
I appreciate
We're
that.
gonna
I
keep
truly
going.
do. On behalf of my family and everybody else's, I truly do. That young woman that spoke here the last time, wanting, you know, I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Okay, we thank you for your time.
Thank
Ms.
y'all.
Houghton. Like I said,
Appreciate it.
Once again, make sure you get up with it. And I have Mr. Allen get in contact with you.
Okay.
And so you all you can sit down with him and we'll get all these things listed out so we can work on whatever we need to do with this.
I would love to be part of the, you know, the solution and not the problem.
Thank you. Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may
Josh.
I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Some of the issues that Ms. Lott just raised, isn't it possible for this commission to make an ordinance to ban things like, explosives stored here, or nuclear waste stored here? Can't you ban that from coming down to town?
But that would need to be part of the zoning ordinance. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Once again, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Lott. We appreciate your input and, we will work with you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now down to item 5, administrative matters. Personnel policy changes, the HR manager, and this is on final page 69. Is, okay, Ms. Ingram?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Evening.
In your package, you should have 2 proposed changes tonight. The first one is the longevity proration. This was brought to you back in June, and I was asked by some of the board members to bring that back. What it is approving the language of the proration. You had already discussed it, I believe, back in your April meeting. So in your packet tonight is the language for that proration. The only thing that's different from tonight versus what I had in June is the cap. The cap is still at the 1,600 because we did not budget to increase the cap. So I have the current cap of the 1,600 in that language. Are there any questions about the language that's in here right now for the longevity? And this is for retirees. Right now, so we've had 7 retirees so far this year, and because they retired before November 30th, they didn't get any longevity. But this would have been already approved in the language, then they would have got a portion of their longevity.
Any commissioners have any questions? Ms. Ingram? Okay, what's the pleasure before we need to make a motion on this? We need disposition.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the language, the proposed language for the prorating of longevity pay.
Second. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Mims, to approve the longevity pay proration. Any further discussion?
And that's still capping out at 1,600.
Yes, sir, it's 1,600.
Okay, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, it is unanimous. The proration of the longevity pay is approved.
Thank you. The next thing I have in your packet tonight is the 2023 Anson County holiday schedule. Usually I would put this in your consent agenda, but this year and also last year I had some people that asked me about adding Juneteenth. So I want to give the board some options if you want to consider Juneteenth. Currently, it's a federal holiday. We currently go by the state holiday schedule for our holidays. The only difference is for the 4th of July, which was approved back in 2020, I believe. When the 4th of July falls on a Thursday, we get that Friday, and if it falls on that Tuesday, we get that Monday. So we've already kind of deviated from the state schedule. So I didn't know if the board wanted to consider doing the Juneteenth holiday, or if they want to consider a floating holiday. The only thing about doing a floating holiday, it would make it a little bit more difficult for tracking. So it would be easier for tracking purposes if we did adopt the Juneteenth or kept it as is, because you may have 200 people wanting that day off, and then you'll be affecting services if you don't have enough coverage. But the first thing is adopting the schedule as it currently is. The second option in your packet is if you add the Juneteenth holiday, and then the third is if you decide to do a floating holiday.
And okay, Juneteenth was a federal holiday, but it's not a state holiday?
Correct, not yet.
Oh, okay.
And there's 7 counties that have adopted it already, and then there's 2 that have like a floating and flex holiday for it. And there's about 45 towns and counties that currently observe it. And it's something that's currently being talked about a lot, so I'm pretty sure as we go on, more people are gonna start adopting it.
And in your opinion, if it was a floating holiday, it might be an issue?
Yes, sir. I talked with Mr. Allen, and I also talked with finance, and we were just thinking for tracking purposes, because we have 240 full-time employees. So if you did it as a floating holiday, if you're thinking about coverage, if you have a department of 50 and you have 40 people asking for that floating holiday off,
Understand.
then you only have 10 people servicing the public.
Okay, there is a way to control that, but I understand your concern, so I won't get into that, okay? Does the board, any commissioner have any questions or any recommendations?
Mr. Chairman, I understand Juneteenth is a federal holiday that was instituted earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an official holiday of the state of North Carolina, and I believe it's important that Anson County follows the state of North Carolina. And once the state moves to Juneteenth as a holiday, paid holiday, then Anson County should follow suit.
Okay. Any other commissioners?
If we continue to follow the state holiday, then that first option in your packet will be what the 2023 calendar will look like, and that's including that extra day for the 4th of July for next year because of how the 4th will fall. And I'll just need to get approval for the option number 1.
Option number 1,
If that's the
okay.
pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion that we approve option number 1.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Bricken, that we approve option 1 for the holiday schedule for 2023. Any further discussion? I would also say this too, if, you know, to be prepared for whenever it does come up. I'm thinking there's a cost with adding a holiday. If you would have that information for us
Yes,
at the
sir.
point in time that we need to look at that. So I don't know if there's any other discussion. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, it is unanimous. The option 1 is approved for the 2023 holiday schedule for Anson County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Okay, item 5B is a budget amendment for the tax assessment collection for Biotech Incorporated contract. That's on page 79, and Mr. Newton's not able to be here tonight as well, but you know, he's already gone through this with us, and as I understand it, there was an oversight somewhere in the budgeting process, and the $68,333 was not actually budgeted, so they're asking us to do a budget amendment so we can move forward with the implementation of this. I think the implementation's already started, this new software.
Well, with the property tax issue and the problems that we've had, we have to move forward with it.
Yes, it's already started. Like I said, this is an oversight, so we just need to approve the budget amendment so the money can be paid. Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Mills, second by Commissioner Bricken, to approve the budget amendment for the Biotech contract. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, it is unanimous. The budget amendment for Biotech is approved. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Allen, the manager's report.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Good, very good. It's a little more difficult difficult to do this over the telephone, so I'll try to make my comments brief, and of course, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that the board has. The first item I wanted to report on is that the design for the Highway 74 sewer line going east out of Wadesboro is almost complete. I spoke with Mr. Piper of LKC just a few days ago, and that should be complete within 2 weeks, and he is going to schedule a meeting with our county staff here for them to go over the design, make sure that everything works and so forth, and then he'll immediately proceed to getting that advertised for bid. So I just wanted to let council know about that. The second item is I know that the board was very interested in replacing the electric vehicle charging station that was removed when PD Electric vacated their building. There was a grant program for that, and the staff here, Wendell Small and Holly Berry, put together an application. That application was submitted, and we should know in October if we will get that. And they were, I will say, they were assisted by Central Iowa Regional Council, who has a lot of expertise in this area. And I've spoken with Central Iowa, and we're optimistic that Anson County will be able to get a grant. No guarantees, but we feel pretty good about that. And that will go back exactly in the same spot where the former electrical vehicle charging station was at. I'll just keep going ahead, Mr. Chairman, unless I get any questions from anyone. I also wanted to report that we have finally got approval from Department of Environmental Quality to proceed with the construction contract with Bond Construction for the removal of sludge removed from the water treatment plant. As you know, this issue has been going on for a few years, and we're happy to report that it looks like that is getting resolved. The contracts have been executed. We had a pre-construction meeting last Wednesday that went very well. There were not a lot of issues. I think everybody understands the scope of the project. So we anticipate right now we're getting the testing done. The material has to be tested before it can be received at the landfill. I had a conversation with Mr. Fitzgerald about that today, so that's all moving ahead. And so we anticipate construction will be beginning in the next few weeks on removal of the sludge and repairs to the dam.
Okay, one question, Mr. Allen. There was some question about the contract with Bionomics. Is that null and void now, and there's no cost to the county?
Yes, sir. There's no cost to the county. The board, had made a vote to award, but we never executed any agreements, never provided them with notice of award. And the reason for that being is shortly after that happened, we had the court-mandated settlement talks. And so it appeared out of that there was a possibility that this would be settled. And so on our behalf, McGill reached out to Bionomics, told them what was going on, and they indicated that they would not have any issue if we did not proceed with them. So I spoke, and Mr. Forbes also spoke with our outside counsel, Chris Tomlinson, about this, and so we're in the clear on that.
Okay, thank you.
The next item is the Hazen and Sawyer water sewer evaluation that the board voted to engage just after I left the county's employment previously. I'm very pleased to report that Hazen and Sawyer applied for a state planning grant and received that in the amount of $400,000. So the county will not have to pay for this study, and it actually will be more in-depth and involved than we would have been able to get initially. So that's great news that grant has been awarded, and I know that Hazen and Sawyer are working on that. We've had contact with them about the $5 million legislative appropriation that was announced at your meeting in July. And we're going to be talking with them, having a meeting with them about some potential projects for use of that $5 million. And I have received notification from NCDEQ about the money, but we've got to put together a package for them about what the proposed use is and so forth before those funds can be released. I'll move on, Mr. Chairman. I put a lengthy memo and a sketch inside the board's agenda package regarding the new county annex building. I knew that there have been a number of different suggestions that have been made about that facility. The layout that I showed you includes the water sewer department, the environmental health department, the building inspections department, and a temporary home for the transportation department during the time over the next couple of years when their building would be released. And I also included a financial analysis where we looked at what we're paying in either rent and or utilities, internet and so forth for the facilities that will be vacated with this. And it looks like conservatively, I think the county will be saving more than $65,000 a year in operating costs. So that's a great benefit of trying to consolidate into one building. That does leave a couple of vacant offices that the board can, we can look at what to do with those. But I think the primary footprints, are set, and we picked the offices that have the greatest savings. There were a couple suggestions. I know that there was mention of the Veteran Service Office. Because they get their rent, utilities, internet, all at no cost, there's really no cost savings there. Were we to move that? And of course, the other issue was Brown Creek. There definitely would not be room for any of the federal agencies to move into this building. There would be room to move the 2 employees of Brown Creek. As you know, the Soil and Water Commissioners feel that that would not be the best for the farmers of Anson County. And the savings probably would not be all that great. If you look at it right now, it's about a little over $10,000. However, a big chunk of that, over $6,000, is for internet and telephone. And Jeff Louder, our IT director, is looking at ways that we can bring that cost down. The unfortunate thing is that the internet is by location. And so whether you've got 2 people on location or 25 people on location, the cost is the same. So it's not as cost effective for small offices. So we're looking at what we can do with that and be happy to report back to the board after we determine what our options are. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions or if there are any.
Okay, I would concur with the Veteran Services staying where they are, because like you said, first of all, there's no cost for anything that person being there, and there's a lot of interaction because of a new program she started, Veteranpreneurship, and that's enticing veterans to come to Anson County and start up their businesses. So she has to interact with the Economic Development Director, Mr. John Merrick, who's right there next door to her in his office, and as well as the Chamber of Commerce. So I think it makes sense to leave her there. And
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Sorry. And the other thing is, I don't know that there's a rush to fill these other 2 offices right now. I will go with your recommendation of the people that we've already identified to move there. Like I said, there's a great benefit to put ACTS people there. And then we'll look at other opportunities as they come up. And my preference, as I mentioned before, would be we get a full-time manager. That managing staff could look at what makes sense to go there. Okay, Commissioner Gatewood, you have something?
Mr. Chairman, I understand exactly what you're saying, support it. But on Veteran Services, we've got 2 very nice offices here in the PD Electric building, and it would be an opportunity for us to consolidate county services. I mean, that's the meaning of annex. I really believe that we should seriously consider putting Veteran Services in the PD Electric building.
I hear what you're saying. I'm going to speak as a veteran, and I'm thinking the environment at Rev Uptown, that's what they call the Chamber building. And Commissioner Smith is a veteran also. I'm not sure who else in here may be one, but at any rate, she gets more than one veteran at a time. So the environment up there is a lot more conducive to sitting around in, somewhere like PD building, because we don't have anything to offer when they're there. But at the Veteran Service Office where it currently is, they can get refreshments or whatever from Speckle Pot Coffee. So I think it makes a much more conducive environment to servicing veterans. Like I said, I use myself as I got issues, so you gotta watch where you put me.
Well, I'm speaking as a Boy Scout, okay? As a former Boy Scout. When I go in to pay my water bill and I need to visit with Veteran Services, they're right there in the same building, in the same facility. If I go in and do business with ACTS and I want to talk to Veteran Services, they're right there in the same building. With Zoom and AV equipment and technology that we have now, I don't need to be in the same cubicle or office with someone to communicate with them on a fluid basis. And I think, again, this board really needs to consider veteran services going into the PD electric building, and maybe I'm the only one that feels that way.
No, you're not.
Okay, point well taken, Commissioner Gabriel. Okay, Mr. Allen, anything else?
Do I need to put it in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman?
You have that option.
All right. I'd like to make a motion that we include veteran services in one of these prime offices in the PD electric building.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Bricken, that we put veteran services in one of the offices at the PD electric building. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Okay, so the motion carries 5-2. Myself and Commissioner Smith voting no.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Allen?
No, sir, that's all I have, unless there are any other questions for me.
You got item F. I don't know if you want to mention that HR certification. That's for Ms. Ingram. She's
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. Yes, sir. Just wanted, thank you for mentioning that. I wanted to congratulate and ask the board to join me in congratulating Ms. Ingram. She just received, on July 15th, her certification from the Society for Human Resource Management as a certified professional, and I think that'll be really beneficial for her in carrying out her efforts on behalf of the county's employees. So just wanted to recognize her for that achievement.
Mr. Chairman, most of the veterans have to leave veteran office and go to the register of deeds. That register of deeds is not out there.
I know. And there's other things too, like I stated. We'll look, the motion's been voted on, and it has passed, but we'll see what happens from there. Okay, next item is, Chairman's report. Like to remind all of us to remember our meeting with, South Piedmont on August the 9th. That's, next Tuesday. It's at 5:30, and it's at the Polkton Depot. Dinner will be served, and the college has some presentations they'd like to make. I don't know that we will be conducting any business at that time.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be at my meeting on that Tuesday.
Oh, so you won't be able to attend? Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay, I participated in a couple of steering committee meetings during the month of July from the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. I'm part of the Agriculture Steering Committee and the Public Education Steering Committee. And basically what we were doing, we reviewed our guiding principles in preparation to look at our legislative goals. We'll do that in, let's see, for September, October. They wasn't sure of the date, because coming up early next year, legislative goals will be updated and for work by the association for the upcoming years. And I would like to mention too, if anybody would like to serve on any of the steering committees for the association, just go on the NCACC website, and it shows you all of the steering committees that they have. Okay. Also met we're in District 10 of the association, and District 10 is composed of Anson, Montgomery, Moore, and Richmond counties. We met this afternoon to select the district director, and it looks like now I will be the district director for District 10.
Excellent.
Thank you. And also, the ones that's going to the annual conference, which is next week, starts on Thursday through Saturday. Stick around for just a minute. Ms. Cannon has some information for you, and I will say this: the agenda's in the packet that she's going to give you, and they've got some really good courses this time. Of course, I've about taken myself out of circulation for Thursday because I'm going to do that emergency management training course, and that's an all-day thing. But that's President Frank Williams' presidential initiative for this year, 100 Counties Prepared. So I'll be attending that, but just kind of take a look at that and see which one of them you want to attend. Because typically what we do when we're there is divide up and none of them, so we all end up in the same class. Okay. I believe that's all I have. Okay.
What about the, Ingawa Trust?
Oh, yeah, thank you, JD. I skipped over that. I was contacted by, Mr. Rick Lanier, who is with the U.S. Motto Action Committee. And, he is asking, and he has, I think in approximately 30 or 31 counties in North Carolina, they have put the motto, "In God We Trust," either on the courthouse or inside the, like here inside the government center, or it could even be on our government annex. And I'm looking for, if we're interested as a board, by consensus, or we can take a vote on it, to get him to come at our September meeting and go over this. And the one thing it will not be any cost to the county. This initiative that they're doing, they pay all the costs. We just let them know what we want and where we want it. I'm not sure if we can get more than one, but he can come talk to us and we can ask that question at that time. So at this point, if it's consensus of the board, I will invite Mr. Lanier to attend our September meeting.
I'll make a motion, we
Hey,
invite
in
him.
favor.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Gatewood, that we get Mr. Rick Lanier with U.S. Model Action Committee here in our September meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the like sign. Hearing none, it is unanimous. So I will contact Mr. Lanier and get him lined up for our September meeting. Thank you, J.D., for reminding me of that. Okay, item 8, Commissioner concerns, petitions, announcement, and comments. The only one is mine, and I was approached by a citizen, and this goes back to prior to COVID. They understand that the Grace Center had to shut down at that time. But as I understand it, there's probably half a dozen elderly ladies that get together and go out, and I think she said they play bridge out there. And at this point, they're not able to get back in, and they're looking at the fact that most places are open now. So I don't know if there's something that we need to change or what, but Mr. Allen, if you would, could you check into that?
Yes, sir, absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
And I don't know what the board's thought said, but it seemed to me like that it wouldn't be an issue. She said they used to get food, so they don't need food. It's like somewhere that they can get together and play bridge. Okay, at this point, we have a closed session for personnel.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Dr. Sims, to go into closed session for personnel. All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, it is unanimous. We're now in closed session. We appreciate everybody coming. Hopefully this won't take long. We need a motion, Mr. Gatewood.
Make a motion that we proceed with the hiring of a county manager, pending review of background check, as well as pre-employment drug screening.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Britton, Commissioner Mims, that we proceed with hiring a county manager, pending a successful background check and a pre-employment drug screen. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, my recommendation is based on 1, his education, number 2, prior work experiences, and the outstanding interview that he had on Saturday, July 9th.
Plus it's outstanding references.
And outstanding references. Thank you, Dr. Sims.
Okay, anything else? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. Okay, hearing none, it is unanimous. We'll proceed with hiring county manager.
Thank you.
At his age, I don't believe he'll leave us. I
Well,
don't believe he'll
we
complete
hope
a
not.
certain number of years.
We sure hope not.
Okay,
Okay, thank you all.
you need one more?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adjourn if that's in order.
Oh, I like to second those.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Dr. Sims to adjourn. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.